Dan Moore is the other injury here that we need to address. Do not believe that he will be a participant in practice today. Do not know when he's going to be a participant in practice. But he told me today in the locker room, like, yeah, I'm good. I'm pretty sure I'm going to play on Sunday. Things will be just fine. Fourth-year vet. Don't really need him to practice on Wednesday. Like him to practice on Thursday. But if he's a limited participant tomorrow and then a full participant on Friday, I expect him to go. I think even if he's questionable, he's got a pretty strong chance to play on Sunday. But hypothetically speaking, let's say he doesn't. Let's say something happens. He is not out there on Sunday. Broderick Jones is the starter at the left tackle, which he played today. And Troy Fautanu is the starter at the right tackle, which he played with the first team today. Is that it? I'll ask this as straight as I possibly can. Is that the end of Dan Moore Jr.? Can you make the change and then somehow make it back? Even if Dan Moore was impressive in week 1 and has been impressive this entire summer, looks like potentially the Steelers' second best offensive lineman right now outside of Zach Frazier. Can you make the change and then change it back regardless of how Dan is playing?
I think you can. And I think a lot of it would have been different if Dan would have stunk in week 1.
Yes.
But quite frankly, he didn't stink, and he was actually pretty good. And Broderick also was the same on the right side. The Steelers' offensive line, as you talked about yesterday as a whole, was pretty good in week 1. So if Dan can't go, and again, if, hypothetical land, and you do end up going with Broderick over to the left and Troy over to the right, which is, in a perfect scenario, that is what you want going forward. I still think they would go back to Dan unless Troy looks really comfortable at right and Broderick looks really comfortable at left. They would have to look like they are the pieces that you wanted them to be for them to not say, all right, well, Dan is healthy now, let's give him another shot. They would have to outperform what Dan and Broderick did on Sunday in week 1. And I think that is for Troy Fautanu coming off of an injury, making his first career start, and Broderick making his first start at left in, 10 games? I think that's a lot to ask of those two.
I agree. I don't think it's going to turn out the greatest. I have a hard time believing that the Steelers, it's where I stand, where I believe the Steelers stand are two totally different things. Because where I stand, it's you start Dan Moore, he's probably your best player, but you also have to fight with the fact of how much now you're really messing with Broderick. Now you're really messing with Broderick. And how much are you going to risk messing with Broderick for a guy that's not going to be here next year? Like, you have to have a full understanding. Dan's done after 2024. He's not going to return in 2025 and be the swing tackle. He's going to go somewhere else and hopefully get a starting job. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to go with Broderick Jones and Troy Fautanu. So are you willing to risk Broderick Jones even more by saying you're going to play left when Dan's not playing, and then you're going to go back to right and, just hope that you're good. Just hope that you're fine. That being said, if Broderick, like you said, if it's a lot to put on him, Broderick has a tough game, Troy Fautanu has a tough game, neither of them look well, you don't really have a choice. You have to go with the best group that you have. But if they go out there and they look fine and the offensive line looks just as good as it looked in week 1, I don't know how you go back. I just don't. I think that at that point, the Pittsburgh Steelers are backed into a corner to say, we fought this as hard as we could fight this. We pushed back as much as we could. There's no more wiggle room. We have to give Broderick Jones the starting left tackle job, and we have to start Troy Fautanu. What's up, guys? It's football season, and we've teamed up with DraftKings. Right now, new customers who bet $5 will receive $250 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, you'll receive 1 month of NFL Plus Premium. It's hard to think of a better way to celebrate fall weather, your favorite jersey, and Sunday touchdowns than with the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Download the DraftKings app and use our promo code ALLSteelers. That's $250 in bonus bets instantly and 1 month of NFL Plus Premium after betting just $5. Stay in the action and use your $250 in bonus bets to bet anytime touchdowns on DraftKings. DraftKings is the place to bet touchdowns. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. you could still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have the shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use my promo code ALLSteelers and bet just $5 on any wager and get $250 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code ALLSteelers only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Is that the best idea? No, but I believe it comes with less risk. And at this point, I'm very concerned about Broderick and how much you're flip-flopping him and what you're going to do and how much it's just messing up the development of the kid because he's got so much talent, but you don't want to ruin that by flipping him all the time. So I think you're faced with that situation, and that situation might hold more ground than, what's the best situation, what's the best five that you could possibly put out there if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, here's the thing, and you mentioned that what you think and what the Steelers think are two different things, and what you think is best. And I think both of us can agree that it's best for the Steelers if you have Broderick on the left succeeding and you have Troy on the right succeeding, because that's the future of those two positions. It's the reason that you selected both of them in the first round. But for the Steelers side of things, why would they stop flipping Broderick now? Right? They said at the end of last season, is Broderick Jones a left tackle? Yeah, that's where we want him to be eventually. Well, why did you say eventually? Because the Steelers at this point have just not cared. They've said, Broderick's good enough to go both sides and be able to flip-flop no matter what. The Steelers have that faith in him. Whether or not he has proven to be able to do that on a consistent basis or not, they have that faith in him. So why would they stop now? Especially because it's an injury. It's not performance-based. It's injury-based. And Dan Moore looked good in week 1. So I feel like if I'm trying to think from the Steelers' point of view, which again, I don't claim to be this czar that knows what they're thinking, but based on their previous, actions and what they've said previously, it feels like they would be fine ending up moving Broderick over. And then if Dan's healthy and they think it'll give them the best opportunity in week 3, putting Dan back in and saying, Broderick, you're going back over to right. I don't like it. I know you don't like it, but I feel like the Steelers aren't as concerned about it.
I think they might be more concerned than they let on. Because I think somewhere, even if it's not Mike, maybe it's Omar, maybe it's Art, somewhere somebody's saying, dude, there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of concern. Maybe that concern is warranted. And I believe that it's this Justin Fields, Russell Wilson situation. They said a million times, this is our stance. This is our stance. This is our stance. The second that our side of things, the things that the fans, the things that the media have been saying opened up, the Pittsburgh Steelers acknowledged somewhat that they were on, that the stars aligned, that the thoughts aligned. Maybe they align in this way as well. I don't know. We've seen this in the past, we've seen this in the past. We've seen that's how Broderick got in here to start with. At some point you had to bench Chooks, and they came up with whatever reason they thought to bench Chooks. But that was the end of it. From there on, that was the end of it. You couldn't do it anymore. And Joey Porter Jr. over Levi Watt. Like at some point, once that switch is made, they don't really care. The Steelers just make a move and they stick with it. Again, I don't know. We'll find out, but I do think they're faced with a very difficult situation at left tackle. Do I expect it to happen this week? From what I've been told by Dan Moore, no, but anything can happen. And while he wants to play, the doctors make that decision. So we'll see come Sunday whether or not he's out there.